Hello and welcome to this episode of Sequel Pitch, a film podcast in which three friends pitch a sequel to a movie that doesn't have one and then battle it out to persuade the host that they are the last pitch hero. I'm Lieutenant Decker of this rowdy group, and partner with me today, he's a kind man. He's a flatulent man. It's Matt Rushton.
You sum me up perfectly.
And lastly, much like Danny Manigan, he's always getting himself into silly situations. He's the comedy sidekick, Andy Henry.
I'm glad I didn't get the flatulence one. I thought that was going to be aimed at me, but yeah, hello.
Unfortunately, I tested out a theory with Drew, and hold on. I've just shot somebody and I want to confess. No one cares. No one
Are you
cares.
saying you shot Drew?
Maybe. Find out next episode. God,
this podcast has turned a dark turn. Damn.
If anyone, it's probably obvious what we're doing anyway, but if anyone just from that line could tell us this movie, I fucking big them up so bad.
Yeah,
that would be pretty impressive.
Epic Charles dance. Epic Charles dance.
Epic. As you may know by the episode title, today we are reviewing and pitching sequels to action comedy 1993 Last Action Hero, directed by John McTiernan.
Yeah.
Ooh, very nice.
So, in case you haven't seen it, I'm going to do a 60-second synopsis, which probably won't be 60 seconds, but I will try. So, here we go. Danny Manigan is a 10-year-old boy living in the crime-ridden area of New York City with his widowed mother, Irene. Following his father's death, Danny takes comfort in watching action movies, especially a series featuring the indestructible Los Angeles cop Jack Slater. At his local movie theater owned by Nick, who also acts as a projectionist. Nick gives Danny a golden ticket, was once owned by Harry Houdini, to see an earlier screening of Jack Slater 4 before the official release. During the film, the ticket suddenly magically transports Danny into the fictional world, interrupting Slater in the middle of a car chase. After escaping the pursuers, Slater takes Danny to the LAPD headquarters. Slater's supervisor, Lieutenant Decker, assigns Danny as his new partner and instructs him to investigate criminal activities related to mafia boss Tony Vivaldi. Danny guides Slater to Vivaldi's mansion, recognizes its location from the start of the movie. There, they meet Vivaldi's henchman, Mr. Benedict. Danny later claims that Vivaldi and Benedict were the ones who killed Slater's second cousin, but Slater has no evidence and they are forced to leave. He discovers its ability to transport him out of the film and into the real world. Slater deduces that Vivaldi's plan to murder his rival mob boss is by releasing a lethal gas during a funeral atop a skyscraper. He and Danny go to stop it. Slater and Danny, they manage to prevent it from the gas releasing. Learning Vivaldi's plan has failed, Benedict kills him and then uses the stub to escape the real world, pursued by Slater and Danny. Benedict devises a plan to kill the actor portraying Slater in the movie, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and after which he can bring other villains from other movies into the real world and take over. To help, Benedict brings the Ripper, the villain from Jack Slater 3, to the premiere of Jack Slater 4 to assassinate Schwarzenegger. Slater saves Schwarzenegger and kills the Ripper. Benedict appears and he shoots Slater, critically injuring him. Danny subdues and disarms Benedict, allowing Slater to grab his revolver and shoot Benedict in his explosive glass eye, killing him. However, the blast causes the stub to be lost. With Slater losing blood, Danny knows the only way to save him is to return him to his movie. Danny finds the other half of the ticket thanks to death for some reason, and is taken and then takes Slater back to his movie where his wounds instantly heal, and then Danny returns to the real world before the portal closes, and then they all live happily ever after. There you go.
That last paragraph sums up how fucking mental this film is.
Yeah. So there you have it. That's the synopsis. So now we're going to talk. We're going to give our short reviews. No spoilers if you don't want to. I mean, you can, spoil it if you want. Who cares? It's been out. It's not a
not a new film.
Yeah. we're not doing what we
spoiler
call it?
cast.
That's it. Jeez, I can't even remember our own bloody product. Yeah, we're not doing a spoiler cast, so you can spoil it. And then we're going to give a score out of 5. Let's go with Matt.
This film is like, it's so much fun in ways it just shouldn't be fun. Like, any film with the cojones of getting Arnold Schwarzenegger to break the fourth wall and play himself and play a character is just, like, it made me sit there going, I'm going to enjoy this. Like, hold up, I can't remember seeing this as a kid. So, for me, this was like a first-time watch. So, anything where I'm like, I'm going to enjoy this film for all the reasons I shouldn't, I was like, okay, right, I'm strapping myself for something mad here. It's mad, it's fun, it's impossible to follow and understand how the hell half of it happens, but hey, it's part of the joy of movie cinema, I guess. It's taking one big shot at Planet Hollywood and all the other things that get referenced in it. His own company. Cool, brave again. But yeah, it has to be one of my favourite Schwarzenegger films. So for that reason, I'm going to score it 4.4 Matrix-style dodging of axes. Why not? 4.4. Like, this is cinema,
Not
baby. You can do what
4.5.
you want. No, you can do what you want in cinema. 4.4 Matrix dodging of axes.
I love that axe throw, because I swear he, like, throws it, like, doesn't he dive and then the guy throw it? It's like, it's wrong timed. Like, doesn't he throw the axe and he should dodge, but I swear he dodges and then the axe is thrown.
Andy, it's Hollywood. Stop reading into these things, dude.
Yeah, that's actually in the movie.
It's so real and boring.
Speaking of Andy's opinion, let's go with it.
This was a childhood favourite of mine growing up, so I remember it very well. I loved it. I do love it. I think I like watching it now, and maybe just being older or anything like that. Like, I love all the like the movie references and stuff like that. Like someone always being in his closet and he has to shoot them every time he kind of goes in, and like the kid's like, "Oh, you're gonna leave me in the car? What if like a goon comes and gets me?" And he's like, "There's a gun in the glove compartment," and he takes it out, and it's like the guns, like almost like a waterfall of guns, like kind of spill out and stuff like that. Like all that stuff, but I'm a bit like, I don't know. For me, they didn't go and like maybe enough of that, and there was a lot that they could have cut. I think it dragged a lot in certain places, but still very enjoyable. I'm gonna give it. Let me look at the cards and stop before it blows up. It's gonna be 5, no 4. It's 3.5.
Oh wow, there's a 3.5 card in there.
There's a 3.5. Yeah.
That's a slow bomb.
Yeah, it's a bad deck. You can see why they didn't sell. I should put them back.
Very nice. Okay, I am going to say I love this movie. I think it's a great satire of American, action movies, and to get Arnie in the fucking heyday of his career as well to do this movie. It's not even like he's like on his way out. He's like 60 or anything. This was like just before True Lies and stuff. So like to get him, and also fucking John McTiernan to fucking direct it as well.
Yeah,
like the guy's directed Die Hard, Predator, Hunt for Red October, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Like, this guy knows action, and he shoots it so well, and it's a professional. It feels a professional satire that is not just everything is just for laughs. Like, it's actually got a good storyline as well. It's not just every scene's a comedy scene, and they use those tropes of action in around this story, which it really works. And I really like Arnie in it. I think it's giving him a little bit more like acting depth in it when he realizes he's just a fake made up character. There is a lot of things in the movie that make no sense in terms of how it works and all that stuff. But you have to take your brain away from it because it's ridiculous. But So I'm going to give it 5 digitalizations of Humphrey Bogart's out of 5.
Wow, the big 5.
Yeah, I love it. I love the movie.
Fucking hell, like, you just called it a perfect movie.
Yes, it is, baby, for me. Yeah.
What were we going to do?
Did
hey,
you get anything before you shot him?
Yeah.
Drew,
Huh?
Has Drew got anything? Did
Oh,
he
he
write
didn't.
anything
He didn't.
for you?
No, he didn't. No, sorry.
Do you want to check if he's awake?
Yeah.
Awake.
he's-
As he's
no,
just been
he's,
sleeping.
no, he's definitely dead. Yeah. There we go. So, Matt, I can see you've been putting the scores. So, what does that give us for Last Action Hero?
It gives us, if I can adjust everything, enter. I broke it.
Uh-oh.
I broke it.
Yeah,
It's
useless
going to
about
give
Drew.
us about
You got a calculator.
4.03 out of 5 if I do some
Wow.
gammy maths and say that Drew's kind of averaging around the same as us.
Yeah, there you go. It's definitely a recommendation. So,
Drew, next
head
time
on.
you're going to get shot, mate, can you send us a score
Yeah.
at least beforehand? Thanks.
yeah, thank you.
This is
So, yeah,
Drew's
so thank you. So, if you want to hear our full review, then head on down to our Patreon, patreon.com/sequel pitch, and you can hear our full thoughts and our full review. So head on down there and subscribe. So, I think it's time to beggy buggy bumper. You didn't think I was going to say that, did you? So the rules are always the same. Your pitch title and your short synopsis you'll give, and then the floor is yours to pitch me your sequel. Then, after, I want you both to do a 360 on your friendships and battle it out to be the winner. So first up, let's go with Andy. What is your title and your synopsis?
All right, my title is Last Action Zero to Hero. Yeah.
Nice.
And I actually forgot to make any funny ones this week, but that's all right. My Mission Impossible ones last week was so good, they will carry over to this one. My blurb is, when Danny's son gets kidnapped, old friends have to reunite to stop a familiar foe. So we start off with a small montage showing Danny as a boy, going back into the film and hanging out with Slater until he's old enough and leaves for college. So says he won't be back as much. But Slater's like happy with it, and he's like, yeah, cool. They do their cool handshake, and Danny leaves. And then we have, like, remember in Endgame when it came up with 5 years later, we're going to have that dramatic, like, boom, and it's going to say 30 years later.
Nice.
So Danny is now manager of, like, that little local cinema. I don't know if it had a name. Did it? Or not?
I think it did, but don't worry
All
about
right,
it.
so we're just
we
going to
know.
the cinema. But we see it's basically not done any better with business. Still loads of graffiti. His son, Jack, comes home from school, and he's the same age that Danny was in the first film, which I'm guessing was like 15-ish? 13?
Yeah,
Around that age.
probably.
So yeah, he comes back from school, and he asks his dad if he's got the new Jack Slater film reel. So Danny goes, yeah, I got it. Puts it in an old-time projector, and him and his son sit in an empty cinema and watch the film. And in the film, we see Jack Slater, and on screen, Jack Slater turns around, and it's played by Zac Efron, and is actually they're watching the sequel to the rebooted franchise. And when the film ends, Jack is all excited, and he's saying it's the best movie ever, but Danny says it was shit, and the new Slater is nothing compared to the original. His son says he's a typical old guy, always swearing at his kids, apparently. And Danny goes, wait a minute, and he runs up to his office and searches for the ticket that he hasn't used in years, and explains its powers to his son. His son doesn't kind of like believe him or half believe him, so he says, we'll take you to meet the real Jack Slater. He puts on a Jack Slater reel in the projector, and they use the ticket to go in the film. When they get to the movie New York setting, they go around and do touristy things, until a shadowy figure sees them, and then just makes a call. Soon, Danny and Jack are jumped as they're walking down an alley, and we meet the baddie. Danny says he looks familiar, and the baddie takes off his sunglasses to reveal 2 glass eyes. Danny tries to fight back, but the goons beat him up, and the baddie kidnaps Jack. The goons leave a beaten Danny who didn't see basically where his son went. So he goes, I need some help. He goes over to Jack's house, but when the door opens, we see Whiskers the cat, played again by Danny DeVito. He explains to Danny that Slater has retired, and he said he was going to a faraway place to relax, claiming he had like a ticket to paradise or a special ticket. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention in the montage at the start, Danny breaks off the ticket and says like, "Hey, come back to my world whenever you want." So he has a special ticket, a ticket to paradise. Danny goes back into the real world and finds Slater living just in her house. But when he meets him, he's basically like Fat Thor in Endgame. It's Arnie in a big fat suit. Slater explains that he basically retired and he wanted to come out and hang out with Danny. But once he tasted real food in the real world, he just couldn't stop. So he started eating and eating and eating. And he tried to exercise, but it's so hard and things are heavy and it takes too long and too much effort. So he decided to just sit around all day getting fat and watching Love Island. Danny explains what has happened to his son, and Slater recognizes the man with two glass eyes as Benedict Jr., Mr. Benedict's son, a well-known criminal underlord, and the one criminal Slater could never catch. So now, both having motivations, they team up and go to the police station to look for clues. And Slater's like welcomed back by like a hero. Everyone's like so excited to see him. They search through old files for some old goons that work both with Benedict and his son, trying to get as much information as they can. And they go to some of these goons, fighting their way and interrogating them for some clues. And we have clues to Benedict's warehouse, or HQ, I should say, where they think he's stashing his son. And every time they have a fight, Arnie's like age and out of shapeness kind of like takes a toll. So he can start off like kind of being like quite powerful and have energy, and then slowly just be like, ugh, and like kind of shoving people away. Maybe goons just run into him and knock themselves out because he's so like still just so fucking hard. And then yeah, we could have like an old goon, which is actually an old goon that doesn't remember anything, but it's kind of like sweet and funny. On the way, basically, Danny and Slater have a conversation, and Danny confesses that he thinks he's kind of a bad dad because his wife and Jack's mum died, and when they died, he got so obsessed with trying to make the cinema work because that's where he met his wife. They both worked in the cinema, so it's kind of like he's trying to keep his wife alive by trying to keep the cinema alive. But this basically drove a wedge between the relationship with his son. And Slater says he's never had any children, but he always felt like Danny was a son, and kind of he was a bit, but he's proud, kind of the man he's turned into be, which kind of picks Danny back up. We go to the Benedict Jr.'s hideout, and he bad guy monologues about how he's going to shoot Jack, but he never actually does. Jack explains that this is because the writer of the film doesn't allow a bad guy to kill the hero's son in a family movie, especially not in like Act 2. Benedict Jr. kind of agrees with this, and so they use the ticket and go onto the set of the new Jack Slater film, Jack Slater 3, and we have a fun scene of them kind of obviously going around interacting with people. Benedict Jr. sees Zac Efron shouting and being a dick to an underpaid like junior writer, slaps his script out of her hand or something like that. So he goes over to the junior writer and says, if you want some real power, join me and write me the perfect Act 3 where I can't die and I can kill not only Jack, but Danny and Slater, and then make me king of the world. The writer agrees, and Benedict Jr. tears off a bit of the ticket, wraps it around the writer's pen and says this will kind of connect the two worlds. They return, and Benedict Jr. calls Slater and tells them where they can meet and have the big kind of Act 3 fight. Danny tells Slater that if he's going to fight Benedict Jr. and his goons, he's going to need to be in Slater mode, and we have a get fit montage of Arnie losing all that weight. I like the idea as well that he comes back fitter, but maybe as well like a little bit younger, which we can do in CGI. And also there's scenes of Slater like practicing one-liners in this bathroom mirror. So when he gets all fit again, Slater and Danny meet Benedict Jr. like on top of a building, and Benedict Jr. fights Danny, and Slater fights all his goons, saying his one-liners. And at one point, Whiskers the cat comes and helps out Slater. Benedict Jr. kind of tells Danny his big backstory, his big plan. He wanted revenge on Danny because he helped kill his father. And we flash back to when Benedict Jr. was just a small boy coming out of the theatre, holding like a balloon and a little lollipop. He's waiting for his dad to pick him up. And he hears his dad, and when he looks up, he sees his dad on top of a building, and then he just blows up. So he's like, I want revenge because I know I couldn't kill Slater because he's too tough, but I could kill you, Danny, because I know you. He saw him come like back and forth a couple of times, so he was like, oh, I'll kill you next time you come back. But Danny never returned, but fuck, I just forgot his name. Benedict Jr. Has been waiting this whole time and just stewing and getting more and more angry, and now he's finally back. He can kill him. So we have a big fight and stuff, but we see Benedict Jr. is basically invincible. He's got the power of the writer behind him. The son kind of tells Danny, you gotta get the writer. The writer's you gotta stop the writer. So the cat Whiskers goes into the real world. There's probably like a goon protecting the writer, so he beats up the goon, knocks out the writer, goes back into the real world, and says, like, I've done it. So now Benedict is vulnerable, everyone beats him up, and we have a similar ending to the first one where Jack throws Danny a gun who shoots Benedict in both eyes, blowing him up. And we end with Slater returning to the Force as captain and giving money to Danny, saying, because I had this thought when I was watching the movie, but he gives him money saying, money in my universe is basically meaningless, but in yours, it can do something. So he gives them loads of money, not loads of money, but enough money to make the cinema, to refurb the cinema, basically, make it all nice again. And we end with Jack meeting like the new girl who's working that day, and we see them kind of blossoming him. And then a mid-credit scene, Captain Slater pulls up to a crime scene with Deputy Captain Whiskers, and they kind of like enter a crime scene, guns are blazing.
Nice.
Oh, shit,
okay.
I forgot at one point when Whiskers takes a rocket for Slater. Not a bullet, a rocket. Which kind of sets up the whole him coming back at the end. Because we can have a big dramatic scene where he says, like, goodbye, friends. But he's actually alive at the end.
Nice.
Just that casual character death that you just didn't want to talk about there.
Yeah.
Got it in just before Ross started talking. I'll allow it in the pitch.
Okay. Few questions. What is the message you're saying in your movie? So, like, you know, I know this wasn't a shouted about message in the movie, but like the through line was, you know, that Danny is getting over the death of his father, and it's sort of that. And what's your sort of through line in this?
Well, I wanted to work off the title, The Zeros to Heroes. So I wanted, just people becoming
like a redemption arc.
Yeah, because Danny is kind of a bit of a not neglectful bad, but neglectful bad kind of father, and Slater's all fat and retired, so they both got to come back and get the enemy. So.
Okay. Is your movie a satire?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's. I think I'd do the M. Night Shyamalan thing as well and play the writer, the underpaid, lowly writer. But yeah, I think it could be. I just wanted a fun film. Doesn't. I think it makes as much sense as the first one.
Yeah. Okay. How many times do they use your ticket in yours? There seems to be a lot of just go to this one, go to that.
No, he goes. They use the bad guy uses the ticket once to go and find the writer.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the cat uses the ticket to knock out the writer.
And then they go back into the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I just wondered. Yeah.
Right, no, I think that's it. I think twice. I don't think they did at the start.
Cool. No, I just wondered.
Yeah.
Who's playing Danny in yours? Who's playing Danny and
the returning guy
and the son?
Yeah.
Who's playing Danny and his son, and who's playing the big bad guy?
The son, I don't know, because that would probably be a nobody. Danny will be the same guy come back. He said he was retired from acting, but I'll convince him to come back out. And Benedict Jr.
Nice.
I want Danny McBride doing a British accent.
Nice. Okay.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I think
I was picturing someone like Bill Skarsgård or something. Someone really slick, and you come out with fucking Danny McBride.
I want the comedy. Yeah.
Charles Dance's son, Danny McBride.
I was so tempted to have just like see if I could get away with Charles Dance again, but with like a wig or something.
Should have gone for who was it who played fucking Tyrion Lannister or someone.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Andy. Let's move on to Matt. What is your title and your blurb?
Awesome. My title is Last Action Hero, Reality Strikes. And Jack
Nice.
Slater is back and defying time and technology to defeat a new big boss and take up the mantle once more of the last action hero. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, cool.
Would you like the pitch? Sorry, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I'm feeling rusty.
I thought you were gonna go straight into it. Okay, go.
We open with a cop car pulling up and some boots stepping out to a dramatic cowboy-style chord music. We pan up those sexy legs and we see a younger-looking Arnie. It's definitely digitized, and it's perhaps, you might want to lean into the fact that it looks a bit cheap, the de-aging as well, but it is fully intentional for later in the film. But the scene itself, it's super epic. It's a hostage rescue, saving a bunch of kids from a crazed man and his cronies. It's basically the first scene of the first Last Action Hero of Jack Slater 3. So it's that scene again, but rather than him just running up and the lights going up and he's at the top really quickly, like he's now fighting hundreds of cronies while he's doing it. And so it's like they've really upped the ante of this scene. So he runs and he gets a bunch of kids that are tied up. This time it's because I changed my pitch, but I haven't changed the actor's name. So we go up there. It's Slater's daughter, but like a younger daughter. And at the moment that the axe is thrown, it's kind of swooshing. But this time it goes straight through Slater's head, and then you cut to black instantly. And then you fade the title credits up, and then it goes to black again. So the way that the black screen is broken is it's like a pair of VR goggles are taken off. So it's like the headset's been detached, and it's in first person for a bit. And then we cut out and we see that old Arnold Schwarzenegger, actual Arnold Schwarzenegger, is the user of this VR headset. He completely bemoans the waves of enemies in the tower, saying it's way too much. That it's really hard to control Slater with everything that's going on, and he keeps referring to these funny shaped wiggle sticks that he can't get used to. He can't get used to VR technology. He says he doesn't feel powerful or like an action hero at all. The game devs kind of brush it off that whatever, and they say that like this game's made for people who still believe in being an action hero, not has-beens. But they're like, look, just take the console, give it to whoever you want, give it away to charity, whatever. And he leaves with this kind of, it turns out it's like a beta test of this console. So he leaves sad, he's depressed. As he exits the game dev's headquarters, he sees a bunch of bullies beating on a kid. He runs over and tries to stop it, but he fails, and he's beaten up by these teenagers, and he's thrown to the ground next to the kid. The teenagers all run off. They meet eye to eye, and the kid's played by Caleb McLaughlin. I can't say his name, McLaughlin, who's Lucas in Stranger Things. So they make eye contact. Lucas, God, that's going to fucking ruin things. Caleb McLaughlin thanks him for trying, but he says, look, you're just too old. And then he kind of goes, hang on, you're Jack Slater from the movies. He says, oh, yeah, I used to be, but now I'm just a has-been. And he's been replaced by these wiggle sticks. Yeah, thank you. He pulls out, he takes the bag and he realizes that one of the joysticks is broken. But he's like, oh, here you go, kid. Use this. And then the kid reveals his name's Billy. And he says to have more fun with it than he did. Billy heads home. He sets the console up, keeps it hidden from his parents. And then he powers it up. Nothing seems to happen. It's all fine. He's playing the VR game. He's getting into it. And he realizes that it's the Jack Slater VR game that he's playing. So he's playing. He gets fully immersed. The wiggle stick in his hand starts to spark and smoke a bit. But Billy is so engrossed that he doesn't even realize. All of a sudden, halfway through this big boss fight, there's a big white flash after Slater's punched by the boss. And Billy seems to take that hit at the same time and blacks out. So then we kind of have a fade up again. As Billy comes up and we're back in that first person view again, he comes up and he realizes looking at the boss, who's played by Jason Statham, who's been kind of massively over muscle, like he's been kind of blown up to like Dwayne Johnson style physique, but it's nice. Jason Statham. And he's surrounded by henchmen. He asks what he's trying to achieve, but as Billy tries to answer, his voice sounds really kind of strange and has this kind of deep twang. He completely throws him off. He stammers. So Statham hits him, and then Billy raises his hands to defend himself, only to realise that his hands are huge and white, and he's just like, oh, what could have happened? And it's all too much for him to process, so the bullies, I guess, the kind of henchmen in Statham, just kick the shit out of him, and he kind of begins to feel himself curling up like Billy the Kid did. Oh god, that wasn't intentional. Like Billy did as a kid in the street. And then from nowhere, there's like this buzzing feeling, and like the lights will start flickering, and he sees rage appear in the corner of his vision, and then everything slows down apart from him. He kind of has this lift up, he jumps up with an energy he's never felt before, and he beats the shit out of all the henchmen, and he fights this bald dude, but neither wins because they're kind of facing off against each other. Bald dude Statham leaves, and he warns him, this is just a tutorial, and then he exits. So the premise of this film, I'd realised I'd filled the page with just that, so the premise of the film is that Billy has been absorbed into the game, obviously. We're kind of doing a similarity with the first film, but bringing it in to 2023 rather than relying on a golden ticket when everyone uses their phones these days. So rather than being a sidekick, though, I didn't really fancy sidekick. I thought, let's go one deeper and have him go into Jack Slater, so he's playing Jack Slater. But obviously this is Caleb McLaughlin's Billy. Caleb himself will get a load of chance to be on screen kind of in mirrors and windows, so Caleb keeps seeing himself in this, but then everyone else sees Arnold Schwarzenegger, this de-aged Arnold Schwarzenegger. And we can have Caleb's voice used as a VO or Arnie. I'm happy to go either way. But basically the premise is that he has to defeat the corporation in the game to free himself. It's a super high-tech kind of beta phase of a new VR system and the game, and obviously it's all gone wrong. So I kind of said perhaps it could get out early at one point and we go back into the real world, go back into the game to discover kind of what or who caused the glitch. And then the film ends with a choice for Caleb / Jack to kill Statham's character. And Caleb's kind of getting so into it that he does at one point, but then manages to gain control of himself and calm the rage and kind of pulls himself out. And it's kind of a bit of a one about risk of being immersive in VR and obviously being safe in technology with the way that the world is moving and working in technology. I know what AI is doing at the moment. So it's just, maybe has a little political undertone and contextual undertone. At the end of the film, Arnie meets up with the kid randomly. They chat again about how the things are, and they become friends. Summarising the film, it's a non-stop over-the-top action. There's loads of holding onto drones and catching missiles and throwing them back at the shooter and all crazy future gadgets and stuff. There's loads of de-aged Arnie, things kind of same one-liners from a gamer's voice perspective in 2023. So what we hear in Call of Duty all the time, Arnold Schwarzenegger is saying those one-liners to people as he beats them up. It's like, fuck your mom and stuff like that. Who knows? Whatever. Not that. That's how.
Teabagging people as well.
Yeah.
Yes, teabagging. He teabags one of them at one point. And maybe there's a bit with a multiplayer bit where he's in a really toxic chat room and he's just kind of sitting there listening to all these prepubescents shouting shit at him. And also worth noting that Jason Statham is a representation of the CEO of this game dev company too. So maybe there's another avenue to explore if you've got the time with the political side of the games industry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you've kind of said, so what is the message that you're saying with your film?
Two-pronged. Kind of shining a light a bit on kind of mega corporations. If you want to go down that route, obviously you have to be mindful because that's where the money is. But, you could take a shot at the games industry and how much pressure there is for games and game devs to deliver these days, sometimes in quite unhealthy conditions, and maybe they've kind of chucked in little digs and little shots in within the game itself. Also, kind of looking at technology and the advancement of technology and kind of shining a humorous but notable light on AI and VR and the future of entertainment and where it could go, and how there probably needs to be some mindful aspect for kids and the younger generations that are exposed to, if they start playing immersive shooters through VR technology. Like, I can only imagine how desensitizing that is for young people, and how there has to be some kind of avenue of safety protocol within what they're doing.
That's Father Matt talking at this point.
Absolutely fucking is.
Okay, cool. So you kind of said it, but I wrote it down anyway. So old Arnie is in the beginning of your movie.
Yeah.
And then we'll still see de-aged Arnie throughout the movie, yeah?
Yes. Yeah, so so Caleb kind of in those, I'm picturing that there's quite a few times that we see it in first person. That's kind of the cinematic trope that I want to pull on, using VR to kind of go into first person. So I'm picturing like we see Caleb McLaughlin in them shots, but then in the third person shots we see Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay. Why did you go the route of VR instead of cinema?
I feel like it's because the first movie was out in the 90s. Like, we're in 2023 now, and I didn't want to try and make a cinematic follow-on. I wanted to pull it into the modern day, and I feel like VR bridges that gap between cinema and gaming. It offers that bigger immersion, and I thought it was the most advanced version of entertainment that we have. Like, cinema was the most advanced version of entertainment that we had in the 90s.
Yeah. And lastly, is your movie a satire?
I feel like there can be. I was perhaps a bit loose with writing the actual plot for my movie, but I thought I covered off in my premise about what I want in there. There's plenty of room for it. Obviously, having the idea with VR that you can blow up Jason Statham to be this big fucking mega boss. Like, basically imagining, who's it from Daredevil? Kind of going down that sense.
Kingpin.
Kind of, you can maybe play on that a bit. And I think with the VR, there's a load of fun things that can be done about controlling the hands. And, like, you can slap himself by accident or hit a table or something. And, there's room for slapstick and satire. But then it's also going to be a fun kind of like first-person, third-person action, but with just gentle threads of kind of warning and being mindful of technology at the same time.
And lastly, because I got one more question because I just want it clarified.
Mm-hmm.
The controller, obviously in the first one, the ticket was made by Houdini, which I assume he just had some magic that made this magic ticket. So the controller is the magic part of it?
Yeah, so the controller, and I was trying to think, like, do I lean super heavy into a developer has made it, like one of the manufacturers and the R&D team have made this controller to suck somebody into the world, or was it that it was meant to offer like a load of real experience, like the feeling and touch through the body and through nervous system, through jolting and kind of dual shot technology, but the broken controller then caused it to kind of have that glitchy magical effect as well. Like, I've kept it as it could go down either route. It's either the controller was always meant to do that, or because it broke, it's this super high-tech new VR that they just haven't equated just how powerful it is. It's open-ended. I like the idea that the game devs have actually made this, and they're trying to kind of sabotage their own corporation through super new technology. But I'm also open for it just to be a complete accidental glitch.
Okay.
And a bit of cinematic magic.
Can I ask for one thing before we move on to the debate round? Ross, as Arnie, then, can you say funny-shaped wiggle sticks?
The funny-shaped wiggle sticks.
See,
what
perfect.
are these things?
How can that not be my winning default? Like, Andy, you just fucked yourself. You just got Arnold Schwarzenegger
Could that
to
be my
say the most important part.
Funny-shaped wiggle sticks. Okay. All right. So, will it be Andy's pitch? Danny, now a father and owning a cinema, wants to show his son an old movie, but ends up in a fight between Benedict Jr. jumping from world to world. Well, twice. Or Matt's pitch, an old Arnie gives a kid a games console or VR system that turns him into the last action hero, and he has to fight his way out and overthrow a corporation. So, now, it's time to go head to head.
Yes.
Will there be no sequels for you? Or will it be or not to be? Not to be. It's up to you. Action.
Okay, I'm going straight in because I have been sitting on my massive point. The biggest reason that Andy has to lose this week is because Andy spent the whole time in our Patreon review and in the kind of top load bit talking about he wanted less bullshit, less emotion, more blood and guts, and his whole film is a fucking family emotional drama with a bit of action in the middle of it. There is no action in yours. It's all about Danny and his son and Danny and his dad.
Yeah.
And
So we got to have
Benedict
some
Jr.
sort.
avenging
let me
his
clarify
dad.
as well. So in the
Everything is
Patreon,
about family. It's
I'm talking about the time
bullshit.
wasting bullshit and stuff like that we don't need. All this like
To you, it was time wasting. To me, it was building emotional depth and three-dimensional
because it has no
characters.
impact on the story.
It's
What's the point of
it's
meeting a
all
daughter
about
if
the
she
story.
does nothing?
We
mean,
needed to know
Matt-
that his dad was dead. We're arguing about the film, not about your pitch, and how the fact that you've just basically banked on going, I'm going to do the opposite of all the things I don't like about this film. Fill it with montages and fill it with sentiment and have no action in it.
I wanted more sentiment. That's why I said, like, when Danny and Arnie didn't hug at the end, it felt weird. I wanted that moment and stuff, and that's why I've got it in my film.
So you wanted less blood and guts and more sentiment?
I wanted more blood and guts instead of the boring time-wasting scenes, like the first 15 minutes, like the apartment
That was dead
getting
important to me, because we found out
robbed.
all
That doesn't
about...
mean anything.
We found out all
know
about
he's
Danny.
not, like, rich. We don't need a whole fucking scene about it. Matt, can I ask a question? How long after watching Ready Player One did you come up with this pitch?
I've never seen Ready Player One, so that's
a
awkward,
lie.
isn't it? I will hands down.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know what Ready Player One is.
Well, you don't need to now because you've just pitched it.
Okay, well, there you go. Then. Clearly,
I've
it
got-
was that good that it needs a sequel.
I've got some gripes with Matt. Matt's lost all the magic in his. So a broken controller, and you're saying a broken controller makes him go back and it goes into the game world. But then you've just said the game developers actually made it, and then to sabotage themselves.
I've left it
but
open.
Then you don't explain
I've
that
left
in
it
the
open.
film.
I've left it open, and I explained that in all the
Left it
talking
open.
about all the
Bloody hell.
corporation
That's going to be your
shit.
new catchprise, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I've just brought you the pitch.
You know,
I'm not writing
what
the
else you're
script.
going to leave open?
Hey.
You know what else you're going to leave open? Why does
said
he have to beat the corporation to exit the game?
Because again, it's part of the idea that the game devs have actually got this subtle attack of their own. They're wanting to destroy from within, and they made the big boss of the game.
They didn't give the game to the
off
kid.
the
Arnie gave the
CEO.
kid. They didn't know Arnie was going to give this
Yeah,
kid the game.
but they wanted Arnie to go in and destroy it because then he would have been the last action hero. But he didn't like it, so he took it off. He was too powerful, and he got out of the game because he didn't believe. So he didn't go into the game. Where a kid believes, and they've got more imagination, so they went into the game.
But why are they stuck in the game though? Well, why can't
Because
they leave?
they've got too into it.
You don't-
Because
you
it's
don't-
dangerous to be immersive in video games and VR technology.
This is a
It's
big advert for
commentary
VR.
on.
Don't
It's,
play
no,
VR.
it's an advert against VR. Yeah, because I don't like it. It freaks me out.
yeah, fair.
But it's this is just a pitch. There's scope to flesh out the details with your writing team and your director.
I've left it open. I've left
Like,
it open. They're
you
like,
have given
That's
given
basically
every
after all
bit
the
of
pitch,
flesh
not the
on your
right- not the
weakling
script.
little rodent of a pitch that you've given us. There is no more flesh on
Mine
yours.
actually keeps the movie feel. You brought in a game. That's got nothing to do with it.
Yours-
You haven't got the
yours
kid from the
is
first
just
game.
a fucking
Yours isn't a
bloody game.
sequel, all right? Because you always tell me when I don't have the same fucking characters from the first. It's not a sequel. It doesn't move on. It doesn't move on the characters from the first film's stories. That's what mine does. That's a true sequel. Yours has got a random kid that doesn't actually do anything. You've got no relationship between Arnie and the kid.
How do they go back into you're now implying that the world that was Jack Slater with that magical ticket is now an ever-living, ever-breathing universe that for the last 25, 35 years between the movies has carried on, and yet nothing has changed other than this one dude waiting for Danny to return, who happens to be able to spot him from a mile off going, well, that's clearly Danny, and that's clearly his son. Like,
no, that was
yours is hanging on the most boring shoestring in the world. Hanging on the most boring shoestring in the world, and you've used lazy tropes like Fat Arnie just playing on his age and stuff. Like, we've seen it.
No, we saw
it much better with Thor. We saw it much better with Thor. I ain't interested in seeing that humor
eats
again.
real food, and the guy gets fat that way. That's
I
funny.
enjoyed
That'd be
that concept. I enjoyed the idea that he couldn't lift weights, and I was like, you know what? That's humorous. And then you did a boring Rocky Sylvester Stallone montage with Chris Hemsworth losing and suddenly becoming the most beautiful.
With the one-liners.
Conveniently
with the one-liners, Danny's going to have their pictures of stimulus. He's going to be practicing his one-liners in the mirror. Mine's got no. Yours isn't a sequel. It's not a proper sequel. You're not following on the characters.
In 2023
You've got no relationship between Arnie and this kid.
In the 90s.
This is just a random movie that's kind of connected to
Arnie
Ready
and
Player
Kid
One and Free Guy and slightly
this is an
Last Action Hero.
And Caleb does a bit of soul searching and finds a strength that he's this kid that's got beat down and trod on. He finds strength in himself through raging, and Arnie's in there because I don't want Arnie to be really the focus point of this emotional journey because he wouldn't carry it now. So I've brought mine into the 21st century. You have basically gone, I really liked Willy Wonka. I'm surprised you didn't have shagging Oompa Loompas on coke in it somewhere. Like, that's how much you enjoyed the last thing that we used with a golden ticket, and yet you've used it and you've decided, I'm just going to rip it up and stick it on a pen, and now it's going to rewrite a script.
Yeah, that connects the world. That means he can control what he says and does and his actions. That's fucking cool.
Why have you decided that this ticket
we always
could do
say with Matt as well that he only
to
brings
do
2
with
acts.
ticket?
This is the first time I think that he's only ever brought 1 act, and he's basically
Yeah, 'cause
gone,
I'd
well, this
literally
is the
filled the
premise,
page
this
with
is
my
the
first
summary.
scene.
No. I at least
If I
brought
had
you a
got you in
whole
the first
3
12
acts
minutes of
fucking
my
pitch.
film,
He's just
I
gone,
don't want you
this
to
happens
pick me.
when
Let's
it's
put
in
it that
there.
way.
Something happens with the corporations, and it's kind of bad, but he has to break out. Why? I mean, you talked about jacked up Statham like as big as The Rock. Not criticism. This is an actual just random question. Why didn't you get like just The Rock then, or someone like that big? Why blow up Statham?
Because I thought it'd be more fun than getting someone who's naturally that jacked, and because I was like, I'm going to put Dwayne Johnson in, and then I went, actually, why am I? Because I'm sending this into the world, so what I'll do, I know, I'll use the short actor who's played opposite him before, and then I'll just beef him up and make him a foot taller just for lols. And Statham, it'd be like, I could have gone with Kevin Hart then, I guess. Doesn't have to be Jason Statham.
That would have been funny. That would have got the joke across.
Why? Jason Statham plays opposite him in Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, but he's actually like a fighter.
Smaller than him.
But he's a fighter anyway, and he probably kicked the Rock's ass as well. Kevin Hart would have been better.
Well, okay, well, I'll use Kevin Hart, and there you go.
Okay, you got one good thing about the movie then, and then apart from that, it's not a sequel.
Look,
that's the
you
biggest
ain't
thing.
bought
You just
into my
don't have the
film in the
connection
first
of the
5 minutes,
first characters
then
from the first
don't pick
film.
it. Simple as
Moving
that.
their stories on, you got a whole new character that's
And
got
you've
nothing
just
to do with Arnie.
drained
They meet at the
something
start
that
and they
had
meet at the
nothing
end.
anyway.
They've got nothing to do in the middle. And I
No,
have a
don't
story
want
about
him
2
in it.
fathers repairing their relationship with their sons.
Oh, yeah, you do that well, don't you? As well as the first one did.
I do. Thank you very much.
Okay. I am very
I feel like
torn.
I was pitching against Drew this week. Where'd all this emotion come from Andy?
I'm so torn. On one hand, I like the idea of Matt's, and I like the idea of bringing it into the 21st century, 2023. And yeah. On the other hand, Andy uses the original characters from the movie. But what to go with? This is live actual me going, I do not know what to do.
I'll say, to his credit, he did use all the original cast, but he kept it in the 90s, where I might have stepped away from a cast.
Mine's not in the 90s. Mine's now.
It feels like it's in the 90s.
No, the start is when he goes, but then I say 30 years later. How can that be in the 90s?
But nothing feels like it's changed. It's like
he's
30
old
years
and retired.
Later. Just looks exactly the same.
Okay. I've made my decision.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it. I am going to be this episode's winner is going to be Matt.
Oh
my god! I fucking pitched it. Yes. Oh my god!
It. The one
I was sat there
pitch.
so prepared
The
to be
one
like,
act
fair
pitch.
play.
Wow.
Well, that's great. Now I know I only need to write one act in my
Yeah,
pitch.
there you go. Set precedent now.
I think this might be a divisive episode in which our fans may go, "You were totally wrong there."
Yeah.
Even Matt just said,
Matt's more surprised than me. I gotta say.
I fucking love my concept. That's my point. I'm dead happy that my concept won.
Yeah. If only you wrote a pitch and not just had a concept, that would have been okay.
That's the same thing, isn't it?
No, it's
What do
totally
you pitch?
different.
You pitch a concept. You don't pitch a finished movie.
A concept is an idea. A pitch is like a fully fledged out idea.
But
Well,
yes,
it's
Drew,
fleshed out,
Andy, you did do like a commendable job. Like, I don't know, like you did all the things that I would like in a movie with Last Action Hero, with Arnie being fat. I think that would be quite funny, and using the ticket as well. There must be nothing left of that ticket as well. There's like just tiny bit of
it's
like
been cut in
paper.
3, so there you go.
Yeah,
Maybe you've got a bit.
but yes, well done, Andy. Admiral runner-up. You get the old. Is it 2 points?
Yeah.
2.
Yeah.
2 points.
Matt, you receive 3 winning points, and I just received 1 just for
Picking the wrong film. That's
for
why you
picking
get
the
one.
wrong film. But Matt hasn't won in a while, so that's
I
a
guess.
good thing.
I
There
guess.
you
Give
go.
him, chuck
Keeps
him a couple of
me the
points.
competition. I'll take him.
Yeah,
I'll take
Yeah,
everything.
yeah.
I ain't picky anymore, boys. I'll happily beg and do dirty things for points. Just
Yeah,
stay in the
exactly. Yeah. So I don't know if you've got the scorecard up there, Matt.
running. No.
I will feel until you do. So thank you so much. If you like our podcast, please shout about it on our socials. Tell your friends. As we said earlier, you can also join our Patreon to get access for more Audible content. And if our Patreon grows, we'll start to introduce more aspects to our Patreon. We maybe do, votes for the next movie that we might be doing and stuff like that. And, I haven't discussed this with the guys, but, I'm just throwing out random things here that may entice you.
Power to the people.
Yeah, exactly. And there is something special coming in a few months' time. I'm not going to say anything now, but there is something very special that all of us are doing in a few months' time. So stay tuned for information about that closer. Oh, we could actually announce it now. No, we won't. We'll do a better, probably linked
A proper
and written,
announcement,
a proper announcement that's been written and actually thought out rather than just added on to the end of the episode. Anyway, yes. So
Scores
Matt,
on the doors.
Yeah. What is our scores now? Are in our sequel pitch competition.
In 4th place with 15 points. It's yours truly. This week's winner, and therefore guaranteed to still be bottom next episode. It's Matt Rushton.
In
Joint first place on 16 points is the troublesome trio of Andy Henry, Drew Toynbee, and Ross Harmston.
Oh,
It is
shit.
so close. Even after all these weeks, we're still so close.
There we go.
Wait, is
Hey,
that
man,
taking
you're
into
coming
account
up there.
Drew's one as well?
Oh, yeah,
Drew gets his shot
Yeah.
point, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were both drawing last time. Oh, no, but you
yeah,
both won
they
this time,
both
didn't
got
you?
1 point.
Sorry,
yeah.
yeah.
Ah,
I'm
so Andy's pulled
So there
himself
we
back
go.
up in the ranks.
There we go. You don't always have to win points.
I bet I
You
should have
know.
won this time. That's what I'm saying.
Right, and
mean,
I feel like
maybe.
power to the people is the very reason that
Get
my
on Twitter,
pitch won.
people. Get on Twitter and prove me right.
I slightly felt bad for Matt being so far behind, so I may have just picked him so he could win to host the next one. But anyway,
I'll take it. I said I ain't fussed. I'll take sympathy votes now.
Matt, what movie are we going to be pitching our sequels
the next
to?
One. Whoa, we got a good one lined up now. I feel like we had a bit of a fiery episode this week. With certainly, a couple of us started to flex our scales a bit as we eyed each other up and breathed fire into each other. So I got to carry on this dragon-inspired face-off. And next episode, we are tackling Reign of Fire.
Oh, Reign of Fire.
Now, I've never seen this. Can I ask, does it have dragons in?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's about cars.
Yeah, Cars. It's a Pixar movie.
It's a bloody brilliant movie, if you ask me. But hey, you'll find out what I feel about it next episode.
All right. Well, all is to say is goodbye from our resident runner-up, Andy Henry.
I've just lost the episode and I want to cry.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's good. And this week's episode's winner, Matt Rushton.
I've just won the episode and killed Andy Henry. Come and arrest me.
And all that's left to say from me is, I'll be back. The hell you will. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.